Hey everybody, Coach here. So glad you could take a couple of minutes and join me. This particular episode is going to be just a little different from what you've seen before. You know, this channel has always been about teaching and educating people on how to do landscape projects themselves. And in order to be able to do that, we need one little character piece within ourselves in order to do it. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about self-reliance, the ability to use your own power and resources rather than those of others. Very, very important quality trait to have in order to go from zero to hero in your backyard. You know, in this day and age that we live in, have you ever seen a time or times that where we need self-reliance more than ever? I'll tell you what that comes to mind when I'm talking about this. And it was a shock to me, but it was the huge cold snap that a lot of people, millions of people, got caught off guard with this past February. And we're talking apocalyptic, record-breaking cold temperatures that plunged out of the Arctic and went all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. That including the snow in Houston and freezing temperatures on the beaches of Corpus Christi, Texas, for God's sakes. There's places that are supposed to be in the 70s and running around. You know, people were in parkas, for God's sakes. But there were millions of people, livestock, homes, municipalities that were really, really caught off guard. And I am not here in any way, shape, or form to ridicule anyone or anything. I was not there, so I can't speak to that. But what we're talking about today is we're dovetailing self-reliance in a life event and then self-reliance with a landscaping event. And that's what I want you to stick with me. So, hey, I'm glad you're here. Maestro, would you do me a favor and take us up to takeoff speed and we'll get this thing started. Hey, I'm Matt. You can call me Coach. You know, every week, every Friday, I bring to you landscape tips, pro tips, design concepts and theories in an easy to understand format so you can tackle landscape projects yourself, get the professional results you want, save a boatload of money, and wait for it, be more self-reliant in this day and age. So, the definition, like I told you in the intro, relying on one's own resources and powers and not that of others. How does that apply to you? Drop me in a comment below and let's start a discussion about what you do to be self-reliant, what you do to be self-reliant when it comes to your landscaping and your projects and your repairs, and then just as importantly, if not more, self-reliant on the ability to face whatever the world has to throw at us today. You know, I think self-reliance is a multi-dimensional approach when it comes to individuals. You know, we're all self-reliant to a certain extent, aren't we? I mean, we can get up in the morning, we can feed ourselves, dress ourselves, clean ourselves, go out and make a living, have a home. I mean, all of that is a degree of self-reliance. And if you put it on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rank right now? Where do you rank as far as a homeowner, owning a home and the ability to do everything inside and out around that home? Then where are you at in case the crap hits the rotary oscillator? Then where are you at in self-reliance as well? And that's what we're addressing here today, is both. You know, what are you able to fix around the house? Or do you have to pick up the phone and call Joe to come over and fix it? What do you do as far as spring fix-up outdoors? You know, do you hire your weekly mow and blow guy to come in on a Saturday and you cash him under the table to plant your pansies or plant your impatiens? Or do you do it yourself? This is what we're really talking about today. Is your home, both inside and out, ready for some type of apocalyptic cold event like what we saw, back in February? Or how about the heat events that are going to be coming this summer? How about hurricane events? How about my old home state, California? How about a fire event? What are you guys done, are doing, or going to do? That's what I want to hear about. That's what I want to hear about as far as, you know, things outside just the landscaping realm. How are you guys planning? How are you guys preparing? Okay? I do not profess, let me get this out front and up front right now. I'm not some professional prepper. I do not have a 20-acre homestead where I raise all my cattle and do all that. Nope, that's not me at all. But there is one thing that I have, and I'm glad I have, is I'm able to know where to find answers should something go wrong, and I know how to act on the correct information I get. And right there is 50% of the battle. It really, really is. So when taking an inventory around your home, both inside and out, answer me these questions. If you couldn't go out from your home, another huge stay-at-home order, or an environmental emergency that does not allow you to get out of the house. We don't have gas stations, we don't have grocery stores, we don't have propane delivery. How long could you last? How long could you last? This is what the folks in the Midwest and USA faced. They couldn't go anywhere. There was no power. Yeah, you could go out and drive, but if you didn't have the proper car, you were going to slip and slide all over the place, and people were saying, stay off the roads. The police, highway patrols, and sheriff's departments were telling people, stay at home, don't go out. So how long could you last? Are you on a propane bottle, or are you on a natural gas fill as far as that? Then, how are you going to power your furnace in your home? It takes electricity to run that blower, that big old squirrel cage in there. So how long could you last? This is something that really raises awareness if you hear someone talk about it. You know, when you're sitting there at the kitchen table having coffee in the morning and you're watching this and you kind of go, how long could I last? How much food do you have in the house? And if he had to, that fridge goes off, you don't have backup generators. How long could you last before you went, now what? Now what do we do? So when I was prepping for this podcast and the video, I was doing some simple research, and more than anything, as I was sitting down with a glass of wine and just thinking about things that I've done, that you could do, that I'm sure other people far more worldly and knowledgeable than I do 10 times this. But let's talk about just some simple little things that you can do. I'd say more than anything is you have to be attentive to your surroundings. Pay attention to weather channels and whatnot. You're not going to go out and try and demolish a backyard and start a landscape project if it's going to be 110 or 12 that week. You're just not. It's foolish, especially if you're trying to do it yourself, especially if you've never done it before. Cold or heat advisories are very, very important. You know, a lot of people were probably in the deep south starting to think about doing things outdoors, or maybe had even started things. And then all of a sudden this event comes in and just said, not today, John, you ain't starting crap today. Plain and simple. So pay attention to media when it comes to the environment around you. I think you hear me preach on the channel all the time about planning. And not only planning for landscape projects and home improvements and that kind of stuff, but have a plan for your family, both you and yours. Have a plan should something like this ever come again. You have something in place. You've gone over it with the family. You have emergency avenues to take if you have to. You have attained the proper equipment, the proper food stores, but you have a plan. And much like my 15-step DIY checklist, you should have a checklist for something in case, holy crap, we got to do something now. You know, when it comes to landscape, we have to draw the line somewhere, don't we? A plant is a plant, and a person is a person. And you're not going to be able to prepare your landscape for the type of things that came if you're in a particular zone that just gets instantly changed and shocked to the bone or to the roots, literally. There's not going to be anything you can do about some things. But the best you can do is take care of those around you, and to hell with the landscape. As hard as that sounds coming from me, to hell with the landscape. You make sure that your home, your dwelling, your car, your family, all those things, and not necessarily in that order, are provided for and taken care of. So with 2020 behind us, you know, all of the things that 2020 came with, especially the initial stay-at-home orders, and then we had this this event, you know, this freeze event. California last year, oh my God, that damn state, just burning up everywhere. You know, thousands and thousands of homes just wiped off the map, you know, for families. I really think it's imperative to have a few things in place. First and foremost, the plan is in place. Second of all, you have a vehicle that is always in good working order, and that vehicle is full. And if it's not full, you have backup fuel in your garage or in your shed that you can use and have the ability to leave if you have to. Where I live at now, I have 2 backup generators, and I have a solar system. And I think it's very, very important, especially if you're rural, especially if you're on a propane bottle, that you have a backup generator. And not necessarily, you know, you can go out and get those big Generac ones and the Kohler ones, and you can dovetail it into your propane system and your electrical system of your house. And if you can afford to do that, fantastic. But you can also get away with just a portable, a good portable generator from Honda or something that's maybe 4,500 to 7,000 watts, enough to power furnace heaters, refrigerators, lights, water pump if you need it, full fuel tanks, and at least 10 gallons of extra fuel, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. You know, maybe you need 15 gallons extra fuel or diesel if you have a large truck that needs to be used. Something like that. The other thing is food stores. You know, this cold snap event that they have, and some of the fires that they have, and the hurricanes that they have. If you are fortunate enough to escape the actual damage time and you're stuck in your home, how long do you have in food stores and water? Potable water. Can you last 2 weeks? Can you last 2 weeks? If you looked in your fridge and your cupboards right now and you have a family of however many's in the house, how long can you last? I would say a minimum of 2 weeks is a good number to start with. And if you don't, you know, if you see that 2 weeks isn't enough, then the next thing I would suggest is have an escape plan. Do you have the ability, if there is an avenue of escape, can you pile everybody in the car, truck, or whatever, and drive from the area and go stay with family and friends? The other thing, going back to planning, just like doing a backyard project, planning is very important and very peremptory as far as checking all your systems. We're coming up on the heat of the year. Have you had your AC tuned up? Is it all in good shape? Is it relatively new and in good operating condition? How about winterizing the home? Winterizing, if you have crawl spaces underneath where your water pipes are they all insulated? A lot of folks had bursted pipes down there, and man, you know, it's not when everything freezes. When everything thaws, that's when you really got a problem. You know, making sure that the irrigation system, if you don't have a winterizing plug on there, to get one and learn how to use it. It's very simple. YouTube a couple of channels on winterizing sprinkler systems. There's at least a dozen that I found in 30 seconds. And it's very easy to do with a little, you know, air compressor. So check that out. You also have a service that'll come in and do it for you too. They're all over the place. You know, self-reliance is really a broad brush approach to many aspects and facets of our lives today. And we've covered some of those things. One thing that I want to impress upon you is Facebook, Google, Netflix, Hulu, you know, all those things, they ain't gonna do crap for you when the shit hits the fan. They're just not. But one thing that the internet does for us is it does allow us to educate ourselves far and above generations before us, and we can plan for things like this and have a plan in place based on all the information we've collected and how to do it. That is probably one of the most critical things I want you to take away from this video. We know how to do landscapes now based on all the other videos that I've done for you so far. Now we're going to take that and we're going to plan our life a little bit too, for the unforeseen and the uneventful that we do not expect. Here we are in the most modern age that this human society has ever had. And yet all the time, Mother Nature and the environment around us throws these holy crap incidents at us that make us realize, at least I hope that it makes a lot of people realize, that we're pretty fragile beings out here and we don't stand too much of a chance against what Mother Nature can really throw at us. If you look back on, I'll draw from personal experience here. If you look back on our grandparents, your great-grandparents, if you knew them, you know, if you look back on those people, pre-Great Depression, Depression people, and then Depression babies, those people came along with a mindset of uber self-reliance. I mean, I can remember my grandparents and how they saved a lot of things. In this day and age, some people would call them hoarders. But you know, they had the jars of nails and screws and nuts and bolts and extra boards and, you know, wire and all the things in Grandpa's shed. And I used to always say, "You got so much stuff, Grandpa." He said, "Well, you just never know when you're going to need it, son." You know, does any of that ring a bell with you? It sure does with me. And I can remember my folks too, to a certain extent, because they were, you know, post-Depression babies. They did kind of the same stuff because they were raised by, you know, my grandparents. So in considering that, you don't have to save every nut and bolt, but there are times where you have to have some kind of reasonable storage of things that could be readily used and readily accessed in case of events like what I've described here today. So let's bring it back around. Enough of the holy crap catastrophe type of stuff. We get that, right? Let's talk about the landscaping as well. So self-reliance. Self-reliance, I'll tell you something, you will never place more value, more personal value and pride on a landscape that you have done yourself than if you just had ABC Landscape with John Doe running the show coming in and you just write a check. I know this from personal experience. I know this from some of the yard crashes I've done with a half a dozen clients over the years. They value it and they take care of it so much better. Not only that, but guys, there is something from the mindset of self-reliance rather than always picking up the phone and having it fixed. There is something that comes from self-reliance in the form of self-respect, confidence, pride, and ingenuity that you don't need to do that. And when a sprinkler pipe breaks, you can do it yourself because you've used either YouTube, you've watched me, you've figured it out for yourself. And that kind of stuff breeds that self-confidence to where you put your head on the pillow at night, you know you can go to sleep confidently knowing that all your bases are covered for as long as possible. And if something goes wrong, or if you decide to change something, you know how to do it yourself. And that's what this whole episode was all about. You know, plan for the unexpected, yeah, but when you're taking on projects, front yard, backyard, house itself, research it, plan it out, budget, do your due diligence as far as costs of materials and whatnot, know your limitations, and then move forward and do it yourself. You know, it's a wonderful, empowering feeling to do that kind of stuff, and that's what I want to leave you with today. So, to wrap up, I would love to get engaged with a conversation and discussion about this topic itself. It's one that you don't see a whole lot of except on the homesteader channels or the prepper channels. That's not me. You know, I'm a landscape designer and contractor, but I also feel that I do have a sense of self-reliance, and I really want a lot of the subscribers and watchers of my videos to think along those lines as well. So tell me, what have you done to prepare? What have you done to prepare for a project you're doing this year? What have you done to prepare for the holy crap moments that might come? You know, what is your family plan, etc.? I really appreciate you sticking with me till this part of the video. I really do. And I will catch you next Friday, and we'll jump back into more landscaping stuff and also touch on little self-reliant things periodically. Hey, and while we're on the subject of landscaping and you're getting a project off the ground, if it would really help, I'd like to offer you that 15-step DIY checklist. Hey, check it out down below. I'll put a link in it. 100% free, and I hope it gets you off the right start. Not only that, but there's an email below there. If you have a detailed landscape question, feel free to write me anytime. Get back to you as soon as I possibly can. All right, guys, see you next week. Take care.